Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. It is Cloudy or Nolan Larson here, and today I wanted to show you guys what my project for the loft environment looks like when I'm just kind of flying through it, and show you guys kind of some of the techniques I used in this to get a render that I did. Still not happy with the render. Now, there's a reason for that, and one is I always want to get better, and I always see like the little things that other people don't, or even the things that they do that I wish I could do better and stuff. But the main reason is because right now I have a really bad monitor. It's just a really shitty Acer from like 10 years ago, and so it's not color calibrated or anything. It's not for art, so it doesn't it doesn't give me accurate colors. So it looked really good in Photoshop and everything like that, and then I sent it over to my phone. Actually, I posted on Artstation, and then I checked it with my phone, and I'm like, that looks awful. What the hell? That looks really contrasty. It's way too like high in certain colors. What the hell? This isn't what it looks like on my computer at all. And I've had somewhat of the same issue before, but I thought it was kind of my fault before. Um, but turns out it was my monitor, and so I ordered a new one. I haven't gotten it yet, but it's coming. But I'll go over this in this. So if it looks too contrasty to you or anything like that, and I know this is just like not even rendered out or anything, but I just wanted to mention that could be a reason. I did try to fix it in ArtStation as much as possible by re-uploading it with modified, color grading and everything, and tried my best to get it looking good. But obviously, using the wrong monitor, it's kind of hard to do that. But kind of sucks because it looked amazing on my computer, and as soon as I send it to other places or take a video of it and upload it, it looks awful on my phone. So yeah, I'll stop going on and on about that. I'm sorry, long-winded intro to this. First off, things that you're seeing are yellow. That is because I am using Lumen with non-back-faced materials. Well, not materials as much, but back-faced geometry. So light's just kind of coming in from weird angles. I'm also using translucent or transparent materials that are only meant for Path Tracer. For example, if I go into Path Tracer, boom, all that yellow goes away and it looks fine. So I didn't worry about all that issue, because to mess with that would to be messing with my Path Tracer material, and my Path Tracer material works, so I didn't really care for that. But we'll go back into here. So, a couple unique things about this environment that I used. And first off, let me remove all these cameras here. So I'll remove every single one, even the ones that I do use. So I had a bunch just set up from over the times I was working on this, just trying to like pick different focal lengths, different apertures, everything. So let me hide this little cube here. That was another thing I was using, and this is to test lighting and stuff and reflections. Remove that as well. So now we're just left with essentially the bare bones environment here. And you can see I used a lot of decals here. So first thing I'll go over is decals. Now, first type of decal that I used was from, I actually used, I believe, Dash, this little guy up here, which is going to tell me to update. Oh, it actually didn't. That's cool. Wait. Okay, what is happening here? Let me move over to that. There we go. So this guy allows me to do a bunch of things like scattering objects and stuff like that. So if I go into unlit mode, this just helps scatter a bunch of these type of decals around other objects. So that's why they spawn only in areas around objects. And yeah, some of these are hand placed, some of them are using Dash. And then for the ground itself, this is just one big plane, and I used mesh paint and mesh painted on one or two different materials on top of this plywood to get a decent result. If I really, if I was messing with this area more, I would, go a little bit more in depth and, paint a little bit nicer and more in the grooves and use height displacement to really mess with that. But I already knew that I wasn't going to have the camera see any of this really. If it does, you know, it wouldn't make a difference. If you know, you see right here, it looks completely fine. So I didn't worry about that. Same with under here. I wanted it to be all dirty and dusty, but my camera wasn't going to see any of that. Yeah, other decals I used were just on the edge of this desk and stuff, where I thought the wood was too sharp. I just wanted to, you know, really mess it up and stuff. And same with on this little drawer here on the edge, and on the edge here, up on this edge, you know, really just kind of dirty it up, make it less sharp. And then, you know, using some decals up here to add just little bits of grime and stuff, nothing too crazy. Little bits of grime here. And then some decals that were like paper decals and stuff like this. So yeah, I used a bunch of decals here mixed with mesh paint to get a good result. Next thing I wanted to go over is actually lights. So as you can see in this project, I have technically a couple different lights here. I have this desk lamp back here that is, you know, adding light to back here. I have this lamp over here that's adding some light to this table. This lamp over here that's adding some light to this table. And then I'm lighting in from outside from a HDRI, which is bringing some light in through here, but very little amount, especially with this cloth that I put over this. It's a lot less. And then this window is also bringing in some, but I also used extra lights to get more results. So for example, if I remove all of these, you can see this area gets a lot more dark. And obviously this is lit mode, so, you know, it's not as good of a, you know, showcase. But they are making these areas more dark, and especially on this little guy here, it does add a lot in especially path tracer mode. So if I go like this, select them all, and let me go into path tracer, delete them. You can see how dark this gets now. So this adds a lot of those like highlights, as if the window light's bringing all this in. So a lot of light painting there. And then in this corner, you can see we have one light here, another one here, that are kind of compensating, because if I go like this and I delete this guy, you can see it's adding a lot of light to over here and to the edge of this desk and stuff here. That's really making it feel like it's glowing over here. And then this guy over here is doing kind of the same thing, but pointed down in this direction, as you can see right there. So it's adding a lot of light to the back area here, and to the shelves, and to the edge of the desk over here, because I thought that was too dark over here. I wanted to capture a little bit more of that light. So again, something that they do in film. Let's you know, that's basically all I wanted to go over for lights. There's one more light source technically, and it's this guy right here. So, you know, you can't even notice it, because in path tracer it's just adding a little bit of like the light from this TV here. Secret, this TV, not even on. You can see that it has no light coming from it within the path tracer. All this light, or all this image and everything, is using a projector add-on for Unreal Engine. I believe you could do this with the new light system in Unreal Engine 5.5. I'm not using 5.5 because a lot of my plugins haven't upgraded and stuff. So, especially my lenses that I'll get to in a minute here. So, what I did was use this one to kind of act like the light is shining out of the TV, and then this one to project it onto the TV. And I'm just using a image right here. The Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse Steamboat Silly. And yeah, I just wanted to add that in because I thought, you know, this kind of looks like an old animator's room or something, like, you know, at their house. They have a little setup or something. So wanted to kind of show some homage to, is that how you use that? I don't know. Show some, show something to Disney, because I love Disney and stuff. And yeah, I really wanted to show that off. So, let me hide this menu here. It's a little bit annoying. A lot of these assets are also from different packs. So if we go into this one's from the Safe House environment. A lot of these assets are. A lot of them are from just Quixel in general, and then some, like this TV, are from the marketplace, just like free assets that you can get on there. Same with this guy, same with this guy, this guy. Just, this is a free scan, like a scan of a radio or whatever. Not a radio, I don't know, boombox. Yeah, you can just see random assets everywhere there that, most of these, if not like pretty much all of them, except for a couple maybe, are all from the marketplace or from Quixel. So don't look at this and be like, wow, you made every asset. No. My goal for this project wasn't to make every asset. I know I can make most of these. The only, like harder ones are a little bit harder, like this or the boombox or whatever. But 90% of them I could make, and even the ones that are more difficult, I could have made just by spending a little bit more time. But that wasn't the purpose of this. The whole purpose of this environment is to, get really used to light painting using these different lights, getting used to like kind of getting more of that filmic look, and get used to where to place assets, right? Like I wanted this to look messy, but still like everything has its own place, if that makes sense. Like it's not the cleanest setup or anything, but it's also, objects are a little bit more grouped. I did leave some that aren't grouped together just to like keep that little bit of chaos, especially down here. But in the actual desk area, it feels like, he has a box for his different metal pieces that he might need to use or whatever, right? Like it's not that it's like so messy that like, it feels like there's just random objects everywhere. It feels like the objects that are in those areas are there for a reason. You have like kind of this tin with a couple different things in it. You have, this area with, pens near all the ink. You have up in this area just boxes together. Like it feels like things are grouped together still, but then you have random ones that are a little bit more scattered, like these, and this guy could be maybe a bit more over here. But I wanted to keep a little bit of that randomness to feel a little bit chaotic. I don't want it to feel too uniform, because at the end of the day, this guy's doing work in an attic that isn't finished, meaning that he's a little bit jumbled. He's not, so on a certain job that he's going to do it until he gets finished. Like he is working in an area that he's just kind of not neglected, but kind of stopped working on, right? Like there's just, it's kind of like in the middle of renos and he's just working in it. So I wanted it to not feel like it's super uniform and stuff. I wanted to feel a little bit chaotic. So I think I got that down a little bit, at least good enough. Okay. On to the next thing here. So this, I'll go into my cameras here. This is a really cool thing. I mentioned his name in the Artstation page for every single Artstation thing that I write, or like post about. I write a whole thing, like multiple paragraphs or a paragraph or whatever, to basically show my thoughts when posting it and go over certain things that I want to highlight. So if I'm not going over everything in this video, go over there, go to my Artstation. It's in the description of my YouTube, and I go over a lot of stuff in those. Worst case, put it through a fucking speech, text to speech, and just listen to it. It really doesn't matter if you don't want to read. But I'll go into my camera, not this one. I'll go into this one. So this is what my camera looks like in Lumen. Doesn't look bad in Lumen, honestly. It looks pretty good. in Path Tracer looks a lot better. You know, you're getting all this paper material and stuff doesn't work in Lumen, and that's because I used it with some different shading models and stuff to really get that, like, if I go up close to it, if I go into Path Tracer, it has this like paper look where light is actually coming through and making those black lines appear even darker, kind of thing, and everything around the black lines becoming light. Like, you know, you're actually seeing, like, for example, this one over here, because there's woods behind it, it doesn't have the light coming through, meaning that it's like way darker, and then this side is way lighter. So I really wanted to get that paper feel with that, where it's hung up and it has the light actually shining through. On ones like this, it doesn't have the light behind it, so I didn't care to have that. Plus, it was an already made thing, so I was like, you know, let me put this in areas that I don't need that special material, so that way I don't have to spend time doing that. But you can see how this looks right here with this guy as well. When it's stacked on top of each other, it has a cool result as well. You know, it looks more like paper, but it doesn't work in Lumen. So yeah, it doesn't look good in Lumen. But as soon as I switch over to Path Tracer, boom, comes alive. And you know, this looks good, right? I could render this and do all my compositing over it, but the problem is if I were to shoot this with a real camera, it would have a bunch of different lens effects that would just happen because it's a camera, right? The beams of light are coming in, refracting off a bunch of lenses, and then going into your actual, you know, I guess not into your actual camera, but into the sensor. With digital cameras, there is none of that. So you don't have a lot of those things by default, which means you have to do not only what you would composite onto it for color grading and all that with a normal camera, but then you also have to like add in effects that replicate a normal camera on top of that. So it's just a lot of work to get it to look real. With this lens, virtual lenses from Joshua something. Forgot his name. Sorry for that. I have a feeling I know what the last name is, but I don't want to say it in case it's wrong. But I do link it, or at least say his name, in that Artstation page. But as you can see, it looks really good with this. It adds some slightly better bloom effects to the camera, and it adds some nice vignetting and stuff like that that actually physically works and all that. It looks really good, especially when you dial up the settings for different things. Works really nice. It does add a lot of render time, but it works and it looks good. Only problem, doesn't work in Lumen mode at all. So if I turn on, well, I guess I turn this, that's another thing. I turn this lens down a lot. So maybe if I go to, I think I used more of the effect on these. Yeah. So you see this one has the lens attached, and you can actually see the bokeh. If I go into Path Tracer, that just turns into the vignette. And unfortunately, I moved the chair for another render, so the chair is in our way here. But you get this very nice blooming. You just get a lot of these good results from it. So I highly recommend it. Only problem is they haven't updated to 5.4 or 5.5 yet. Could have changed by the time you're seeing this, but I've been using it on 5.3, and I've also used them, I believe, on 5.1. Don't quote me on that, but I believe I have. And 5.3 works perfectly fine. All my things have, you know, they're updated to this, so that's what I use. And yeah, I just want to see a detail lighting viewport. There you go. You know, I went really hard on these, even though like you don't see them in much of the render. I think you might see them a little bit in like this one. I just really went hard on them. A lot of these boxes and stuff I could honestly, you know, remove to increase render or decrease render time, but I just didn't. They just, yeah, didn't think of doing that for some reason. Okay, last thing that I want to go over with this, which I actually forgot to go over with the lighting, all these extra lights. I also added in this extra light out here, which is coming in through the window. And if you see, I'll just go like this. If I remove this, you can see how much less light is coming in through there, right? And I just wanted it to be a little bit brighter over here, so I added that light in just to blast through there. And I only wanted it to come in through this window, not this one. So that's why it's there. If you guys want a tutorial on the actual translucency materials, like the paper and these cloths and this insulation kind of cover and stuff, then let me know. I'm not going to do that in this one because I don't want this video to be too long, and it's already 22 minutes. So yeah, not going to do that. But if you guys want it, I can do that in a later video. Okay, so the last thing that I want to go over is how I dialed down the render time quite a bit. And that's from not using 8K textures and also dialing back some of the polygon count of things. But mainly it was the textures. Because we're in a path tracer, it's taking all that texture data and, you know, dispersing it properly. So we're gonna need to remove some of that. But how do you know how much you should remove and stuff like that? Well, in the material for all these assets, I have this texture checker, okay? And, you know, if the material has an open area like this, I have a little box, and I can turn that on. And whoa. And I believe it should be showing up. Okay. Well, that's the reason why it's not showing up. Let me turn this guy on from here. All right. So now you can see when I get closer to it, it's going to show a red kind of texture, and when I back up, it's going to turn, you know, yellow, orange, whatever, green, blue. And inside this texture, I can open it up, and you can see as far as I zoom out, it's going to change its texture color. Some other guy made a tutorial on this, so I won't be going into that in this video. And if you guys need a tutorial on it, I can do that. But basically what it's doing is it's using this long material here, or at least piece of it, to essentially check the texture size. There's not really much else to that. If I delete this off of here and we delete it out of here, which there's only some materials where you have to do that with. If I go, you know, to maybe this guy has a different one. And texture size checker, there we go. So for this one, all I have to do is click that texture checker enable box, and there we go. For any material that shares the same master material, or the same material, I guess, it will show this. So how do I know what this is doing? Well, I made the texture so I know that red is 8K, and then orange is 4K, and then yellow is 2K, and then green is 1K, and then blue is 512 by 512, and so on. So I know if my camera is right here, and that's where I'm going to take my shot, I now know that as long as I go into here and I go material quality epic, and I do scalability cinematic, and I think there was another one, but maybe not. I know that these are the texture sizes that I need for this object. So I know this one has to be for the size of the object, or I guess the UV space that the UVs are taking up, mixed with how far I am from it. This is how much texture size I need for this object. So I need it to be a 4K texture, I guess, from this distance to keep its quality looking nice, while still, you know, being relatively fine with it. And that is also based off of you know, the zoom in and everything of the camera as well. So you can see technically right here is where it's 4K. Back here where the camera is technically like a 2K image, but the camera's zoomed in. So, you know, and you have to kind of like dial that in based off of, you know, your own intuition and stuff as well. But this kind of gives a good idea of really understanding, hey, you don't need 8K textures. A lot of time you don't need 4K textures. A lot of time even 2K textures you don't need, depending on all your, you know, different maps. So again, if I was right here, 8K is what it's, you know, telling me. Technically, I don't need 8K, but for the quality that I'd want, it would be 8K. And you can change that texture to be, you know, whatever texture amount you want. So you can, you know, make the max 4K, and that way red will be 4K right here. And, you know, yeah, you can change that depending on what you want. But for me, that was a good value for me. And it really helped me kind of understand that a lot of this was honestly 8K textures, the whole thing pretty much. I don't know why I did that. It's all going to be in the darkness and like out of the camera view. The depth of field is, that's another thing you got to take into effect, is if it's going to have some depth of field, then, you know, a lot of that's blurry anyways. You don't need 8K. But yeah, I had to dial all that back. So yeah, that's one thing that really helped with render times though, because my render times were ridiculous when I first started this project. And, you know, the project was like way more empty than this, and it would take, you know, 30 minutes for a really, really low K, you know, render where it looks literally like dog shit, and it would take forever. And I'm like, how am I ever going to get this looking good? And yeah, now I click render and it's like within like 20 seconds, I have an image that I actually understand and can see all the details of. Yeah, it's still noisy, but I can see it all. Before, this would take 20 minutes to see this quality right here. So I highly recommend, you know, I can link that video down in the description. I did make some tweaks to it for, you know, my own kind of thing. So if you guys want an update on that or whatever, let me know. But for the most part, that tutorial goes over it all. As for the whole room and stuff, this is the last thing I'll go over for this one. As for the room, it's all made out of the same piece of wood. You know, this is the same piece of wood. Honestly, I just extruded it up and stuff, which I shouldn't have done. I should have different sizes, but I just extruded it up. And I used the modeling tools in Unreal to Boolean off the top of these ones. So technically it's like one piece of wood that I'm, you know, in engine modeled into a couple, and then I'm just using the same piece of this, again, just booleaned out some parts that I need, like the window, and you can see all these are the same. So yeah, pretty simple stuff. It's just all modeled within here. You can see I'm even missing some pieces that I forgot about, like these roof pieces right up here. Just didn't see them, I guess. I don't know why those are missing. Maybe I moved it and I just forgot about them, because this side has them. But yeah, that's it that I wanted to go over for this video. Hope you guys liked. I hope you guys like this kind of like inside the project thing. I'm not going to go and do it to all of mine. I might go do it to one of my older ones, but even though like I've improved a lot since then, so I don't know if I really want to. But if you got anything out of this video, please like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out. Have a good day.